Packing up your classroom at the end of the year can be daunting, but not quite as daunting as trying to unpack your room when it's time to begin setting things back up for another school year. There are two types of teachers in this world. Okay, maybe there's three, but let's start off with the first two. Our first teacher is known as the quote unquote type B teacher. This teacher is practically racing the kids out the door on the last day of school, so they are really just shoving things anywhere and everywhere so that they can kick off their summer break. But then we also have our type A teacher. I know we all know them. Everything is perfectly placed and has its spot. If you haven't seen the trending TikToks about type A and type B teachers, they're hilarious and you should definitely check them out. But anyway, we have one teacher who's just trying to meet the checkout standard needs so that they can start their break as soon as possible. And then we have another teacher who is purposefully putting everything away so that things are organized and ready to go for the fall. Now, I'm probably a good mix of the third type of teacher. I like everything to have its place, but at the same time, I'm trying to do things fast and systematically because I want to enjoy my hard-earned break as well. Now, if you can envision our type A and type B teachers, one of them is going to have an easier time setting up their room in the fall because of the necessary steps that they took in the spring. Can you guess which one? It's probably our type A teachers. If you're looking for tips on how to pack up your classroom and make your life so much easier in the fall, I got you. Today I'll be sharing my 5 must-do tips when packing up your classroom.
Welcome to the North Dakota Teaching Podcast. Whether you're a first-year teacher, veteran teacher, or just a mom trying to gain some new insights, you are right where you are meant to be. Kayla Durkin, founder of the Blossoming Teacher course, is passionate about helping new teachers blossom into the teacher they were born to be. Kayla wants to help inspire teachers to be their best self, whether that means sharing about personal or professional development, self-care, or the latest and most effective teaching strategies. Through this podcast, you will hear from real teachers sharing their stories about teaching, all with one main goal in mind: to be able to make an impact and help other teachers blossom. And with that, here is your host, Kayla Durkin.
Hey friends, let's do this. Let's pack up those rooms so you can start enjoying your hard-earned break. Tip number 1. When you're getting ready to pack up your room, it's important to start by organizing and decluttering before you even pack up one single item. Let's be honest, we all have that catch-all drawer, cupboard, box, shelf. You know the one that just started collecting items that you really have no idea what to do with. Before you even think about packing things up, I want you to start by going through those drawers, those file cabinets, cupboards, whatever it is, and just start throwing. Think spring cleaning, but it's for your classroom. If there's any junk that you kept around for those just-in-case moments, toss it. If your filing cabinet looks more like a recycling bin, sort through all of those papers. If your teacher supplies or student supplies are in tough shape, get rid of whatever you can. And if you're listening to this before your students leave for the year, have them help you out. They can test out all of those markers and throw out the dead ones. They can sort your manipulatives back into the correct containers, sharpen your colored pencils, or even sharpen your stash of new pencils for the fall. Our students love when they get to help us do tasks, so put them to work however you can. Maybe that means organizing your class set of books, putting game pieces back in their boxes, sorting decks of cards so that they're whole again. Trust me, anything you can organize now and clean up will make everything so much easier in the fall. Oh, and if you're wondering, no, you don't need to keep that Cool Whip container, those half-used pieces of construction paper, or recycled cans for those STEM projects you might someday do. It's totally okay to start fresh in the fall. Tip number 2, start thinking ahead to the fall. What items are you going to need access to right away? What items can you prep ahead of time? Do you already know that you're going to need spelling word lists, math facts, sight word sheets, all of those things ready to go within the first few weeks of school? If you can, start printing and filing those away now. Chances are the printer is way less busy during your last few weeks of school than it's going to be at the beginning. If there's a back-to-school project that you know you're going to do, start thinking about what supplies you're going to need. I've always loved knowing that my first few weeks of school are going to be so much easier on me because I've prepped things ahead of time. If you know you're going to be making math toolboxes or binders for your students, what items can you start getting ready right now so that it's less to do in the fall and less to think about over summer? Number 3, this tip is probably one that you haven't thought about yet, but before you start packing things away, what things do you plan on taking home for the summer? For me, I always like to take a deep dive into my curriculum over the summer and update my curriculum maps, so I always set aside my teaching materials to take home. There are also usually PD books I want to reread over the summer. I typically have a food stash that needs to make its way home, some plants, and just a few personal items that I don't want to go without over the summer, and I also probably don't want to have to drive all the way to my classroom just to access. Now, if you're an elementary teacher or a teacher who teaches multiple classes or subjects, you know that taking home teaching manuals isn't just grabbing a book or two. It's like trying to take home a whole flat of bricks. Trying to carry them in a box or a crate is either nearly impossible or possibly the most awkward and uncomfortable walk to your car of your life. So I've always liked to make things easy on myself. Ready for my hack? I'm pretty sure I invented this one, but I always use a rolling suitcase to take home my items for the summer. I just plop my books into that suitcase, I distribute the weight so that it's even, and I roll those bad boys to my car. Easy peasy. Seriously though, I really think it's a life hack. Tip number 4, now it's actually time to start moving things. But hold up, here's the very first thing you need to do. Take pictures. Take pictures of everything in your room before you move anything at all, so that if you want to put things back away the same way in the fall as you had them this school year, you'll remember how you had it because you can just peek back at your pictures. And now that that's done, I understand that every single school is going to have a different set of criteria to follow, so just know you'll have to make your own judgments when packing up your room. For me, I've always had to have everything either moved to one side of the room or the center of the room, so I start there. I start by pushing all of my desks, tables, flexible seating, lamps, anything that's really big to where it needs to go. By doing this, first of all of the big things are out of the way, and I also have the space and mental capacity to start tackling the smaller things. If you have to stack your items, the stacking game can be somewhat of a trick, but I know you've got this. Oh, and be sure you're wearing your Apple Watch because this definitely counts as a workout in my books. Okay, tip number 5. This is where we get to the nitty-gritty of things. You have everything organized and prepped for next year. Your personal items and anything that you're going to need over the summer have been taken to your car. You've taken those pictures. The big items are already to the side. So now it's time to start tackling the walls, the posters, and the bulletin boards. Some schools require every single thing to be off the walls and shelves for painting and cleaning. Other schools might just require certain things to be taken down. I have always worked for schools who are a bit extreme and everything needs to come down, so that's what I'm going to be talking you through. However, if you're teaching at a school that lets you keep up those bulletin boards or your classroom libraries, here's my tip for you. Butcher paper, bed sheets, plastic tablecloths. It really doesn't matter what it is, it just needs to be large. Whatever you're trying to cover up and to keep clean and keep the dust off of, use what makes the most sense. For bookshelves, old bed sheets work great. If you don't have access to old sheets, purchase some of those plastic tablecloths for $1 and drape them over your shelves. I also like to use those old sheets or plastic sheets to drape over my flexible seating. That way, it just keeps the dust off them for the summer. As for your bulletin boards, rolling out a large piece of butcher paper and hanging it over the top will do wonders. Not only will it keep them clean, but it'll also keep them from fading over the summer when the sun is shining through. And now for my peeps who unfortunately have to take everything down, or maybe they want to take everything down because they're starting over, changing themes, whatever it is. For you, first things first, don't forget to take those pictures so you can hang things back up the way you like them. But once you're ready to start taking things down, keep things organized while you take them down. This will save you so much time. Whether you're taking down your alphabet wall, vocab walls, hand signals, STEM posters, sight words, anything and everything, have a system. Some years I've had students help me by pulling staples and taking things down, but I also just know that I might have to organize them quick before I pack them away. If not, if I'm doing them myself, I always take everything down in the exact order that it's hanging up. If you take down your alphabet wall in alphabetical order, you won't have to resort it in the fall. If you take down your voice level posters in order from 0 to 3, they'll be ready to hang back up. Now, as you're taking these down and sorting them into piles, you're also going to want to be sure that you're paper clipping them and filing them away in groups that they belong. For me, I had my voice levels, levels of learning, and champs board all hanging together. So I would take those down column by column and paper clip each set of posters together. And then I would binder clip those 3 sets together because when I'm pulling everything out next year, all of my champs posters, voice level posters, and my levels of learning are going to be ready to hang up in the exact order that I took them back down. As for your sight words, your vocab words, whatever it is, paper clip the sets together and then you can store them in baggies based on the chapters, the units, the quarters, whatever process you use for hanging them up in the fall. If you hang them up by the unit that you're doing or whatever it is, have them sorted back that same way so that they are absolutely ready to hang up next year. I promise you, next year when you're gearing up trying to get all of this ready, if it's sorted away the way you already had it, everything will just come together so much easier. So if I've stressed anything to you today, it's that the more organized you can be, the better it will be in the fall. Whatever items you know you're going to need right away, prep those. Whatever garbage is laying around, whatever cupboards need to be cleaned out, go through those things now. Clean things up, straighten your drawers and cupboards, just make sure everything is in order. I know it's going to take a little bit more work now, but I really do promise you it will be so worth it in the fall.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the North Dakota Teaching Podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. We really appreciate that effort. Be sure to tune in to the next episode for more teaching tips to make an impact. Until next time.